Hello, today we're going to look at essential question number 2, how do strategic readers create meaning from literary text? And essential question number 5, how does interaction with text provoke thinking and response? And today we are going to be looking at page 5 of this Learning Target packet. We'll be talking again about Learning Target number 5 in the literary packet of create an objective summary of the text. We will also be looking at Learning Target number 11 to determine how the author uses the meaning of words or phrases, including figurative and connotative meanings in a text. As we look at these things, we are focusing on a method called close reading. So I just want to review what, in fact, close reading is and why it's a good idea and good strategy to use within our classroom. So close reading is looking at the text through a different lens. There's multiple lenses you can look at it, and there are 3 readings of the text. So we're going to call them phases. And in fact, I kind of want to exit out of this PowerPoint and first talk about looking at all 3 phases together. So first phase of close reading is looking at what the text in fact says. That's where summarizing comes into play. If we're looking at it through a lens, we could say like looking at it at like just with your eyes at the eyeglasses level, just surfacey. So within that phase of the text, we are looking for who the characters are, what in fact is happening, answering those 5 W questions and H's, and who, what, where, when, why, how, and getting an initial understanding of the text. The second read of the text, or phase 2, is where we zoom in and think about how the text says it. In other words, the author's reasoning behind their different choices of writing the piece in the manner they did. This is looking at the text through a microscope as opposed to looking at it on the surface level. And the last phase is where you're looking at it through a telescope. In other words, determine why the text matters, looking at it in a big sense and how it connects to the world, how it connects to other texts, what thematically is going on within the piece. So with close reading, we do want to read it in those 3 different phases. As we look at phase 1, where we're answering those key W's and H, I think that we need to really think about how can we put this or retell it in our own words or summarize what's going on. When you read a section of a piece and you read it for summarizing, you're doing an initial reading of the text. Once you do that, phase 2, you want to reread the text. As we reread, we're looking at it a little more closely under that microscope, looking at the way the author set it up on the page. So text organization comes into play, focus of specific words, and maybe deciding why the author chose to include them comes into play. So we really look closely in that second read of why did the author choose what they did for their word choice, for the way they set it up. What is the purpose of this writing? Why did the author choose to include this writing as to wanting people to read? There was a reason behind each aspect. And when we look at it through a second reading, we want to look at that purpose as well as the author's choice of different aspects and features of the text. The third phase is that big look at the text, looking at it through a telescope, seeing how that particular text connects to the rest of the world, connects to you as the reader, connects to another text that you've read. So with a deeper comprehension of the text, it's deeper because that's the third time you've read it. We're able to see clearly the big picture, so to speak, of the text and how it connects to bigger things and other ideas. So we really want to spend time this year doing close readings. We're going to talk about phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 multiple times as we read different pieces. But ultimately, as we do a close reading, we're not going to look at an entire selection to read over it for these 3 phases, we're only going to pinpoint specific areas of anything that we read to read it closely and to determine different things that we can take away from key specific targeted sections. So don't see close reading as, oh, I'm going to read through every story in here 3 different times. No, we're looking at focused sections that we can take to a deeper level by reading it, 1, for understanding, 2nd, reading it for figuring out why the author chose to do things and write it in the manner they did. And in the 3rd phase, we're going to focus on how that text connects to the world, to themes, and to our own lives. And we will do that with specific focused sections of text that we read throughout the year.